Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amy Washam. I work for Northwest Missouri State University in Kansas City, and I am also a member of the Northland Education and Business Alliance, or NEBA. NEBA is a network of education and business organizations in Platte and Clay counties, whose vision is to promote and provide business-driven educational opportunities for you, our next generation of business leaders. I will be your host during the session, but we also have two other NEBA members working in the background. I want to send a special thanks out to Christy Collins from North Kansas City School District. She'll be running our technical support and assisting us with recording our session today. And I also want to send a big thank you to Brett Kisker from the Northland CAPS program. He'll be helping us to filter the questions that you may have to our panelists today. So just a few quick notes before we introduce our guest speakers for this session. The session will run for 40 minutes, so we will have a hard stop at 12:40 today. Our industry experts will begin by sharing their professional history and insight. But we want this to feel like a conversation. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see an option for a Q&A feature. We encourage you to use that space to post any questions that you might have at any point throughout today's session. We will get to as many as we possibly can, and we hope to hear from you throughout the session. When the session ends, you will be asked to take a very short survey. Please give us your feedback on this event so that we can make these events better for you in the future. Last but not least, this session will be recorded and available on NEBA's YouTube channel in the near future. Okay, so let's get started. I would like to start off by introducing giving our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. We will start with Jessica Carson.
Thank you so much, Amy. My name is Jessica. I am a Kansas State University graduate. I graduated in 2017 with my Master of Architecture. And from there, I went straight into the design field, working primarily in commercial architecture and then bridging a little bit into residential. My first major project was a project downtown, now Reverb, that gave me exposure to the construction management side of things that changed everything for me, it seemed, and I was inspired to go back to school. And I am finishing my Master of Construction Management at the University of Texas, Arlington right now. So I am currently working in construction management now. I've bridged out of architecture into construction management full time. And that is where I'm focusing at this current time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that background. Laura, would you like to go next and give us a little bit more information about yourself?
Sure. I'm Laura Wagner. I'm the LECET Director for the Construction Laborers Union. LECET stands for Laborers, Employers, Cooperation, and Education Trust, which doesn't really explain very much either, but my job is mostly to be a liaison between our membership and our signatory contractors. I try to do business development for our signatory contractors, making sure that they have work coming in, so our members have work to go to. And I've been in this position for the last 3 years. I had my own company prior to this. And that's how I got to know a lot of the laborers I work with.
Wonderful, thank you. And Mr. Donald Slack, if you could please introduce yourself to our audience today.
My name is Donald Slack, and I am the Director, Apprenticeship Coordinator for Western Missouri and Kansas Laborers Apprenticeship Program. And so I've been serving in this capacity for the last 5 years. I am an apprentice graduate, meaning I went through the program earlier on and just articulated through the different steps, and this is where I'm at. So I'm here, proud to be here, love what I do.
Thank you so much. So Jessica, could you start off by telling us what does your normal day look like?
Well, my normal day, let's see, so no 2 days are alike. I would say that on the construction management side, there are so many different phases and layers and moving parts. So from day to day, it will change based on where your project is in its construction. I think a lot of it, I guess a consistent string throughout is communicating with our trade partners and ensuring that they have everything that they need. Ensuring that major components of projects are being procured and tracking. That's a big piece of it, making sure that your pieces of the puzzle arrive to the job site. A lot of it is coordination with your superintendent, making sure that your job is safe and that you have everything that you need on the job site. There are a lot of moving pieces and parts, but I think the consistent string is just active communication with your trade partners and touching base, making sure that they're good.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Laura, what does your typical day look like?
That's a great question. Meetings, a lot of meetings and phone calls and emails, but for the most part, no 2 days look the same. I'm with Jessica on that. It's always different. Construction is always changing and moving, not just the projects, but also the individuals. So for me, I have a big chunk of my job as being a legislative person as well. So I have to meet with legislators and try to help give them information so that they can build policy around making the right decisions for our union contractors. So it can look very different from day to day. Sometimes it's meeting with elected officials, sometimes it's meeting with city council people or attending meetings for any of the chambers so that the business side is taken care of as well. I have the privilege of working with Donald Slack. We have a meeting in Columbia coming up on Thursday for our district council, so it's touching base with the locals and with the membership needs. So it's different every day.
Thank you. Okay, Donald, it looks like you have a great view today. Is that what a normal day looks like for you?
So typically it's what you see here. It starts off one way in the classroom, in the building, and then 15 minutes later, it's something different. So with construction and doing the classes with our instructors and just trades itself, hands-on, it changes from minute to minute. So I'm out here at the Wyandotte County Fairgrounds, helping them with some hands-on class while multitasking. So that's what it's like.
Wonderful, thank you, thank you. And be sure our attendees, let us know if you have any questions as we're moving through our questions that we have. We want to hear from you, and anything that we can help glean some more information, we would love to do so. And so let's just start back with Donald. We'll go reverse order this time. Could you tell us what are the most essential or transferable skills that are needed to enter your profession? So some of those things that people can become really good at and then take those with them as they move through their career. What do you see in your industry?
Well, first, I would like to say math is really essential. Just being able to know basic math, algebra, trig. Again, you know, because the career path is a guy comes in here, he learns how to estimate, he learns what the material cost is, he understands how those skills transfer into man hours, understanding blueprints, and then from there, the path leads you to project manager. And then we also transfer our credits to our articulation agreement with other colleges. So just though math, I would say, is the number one thing that's big no matter where you go in this industry.
Wonderful. Laura, what would you like to add on that transferable skills piece?
For my position, it's been very weird. But honestly, writing for me is probably the most important thing in this part of the job, just because today I spent a good portion of time trying to draft some policy language and contract language going forward for what we want to do. So it's having an understanding of what the needs are for the individual that you're writing. You have to know your audience, you have to know who you're talking to, and then you have to know all the players involved, and being able to craft language around that can be tricky someday. Writing is essential.
Wonderful. Jessica, what would you like to add?
And just, I think, piggybacking off of what Laura said, I think effective communicating is just a really, really, really important thing. Making sure that you're clear, and especially in this industry, clear and succinct is the best thing that you can learn to do. And I think also, hopping to the architectural side, I think what Donald said is absolutely correct, but I will say the biggest misconception about people who want to pursue architecture is if they're not good at math, that they can't go into architecture. If I would say, having gone that route, that is not necessarily, it's not an end all be all. You can survive on the architectural side, not being just like a math whiz. And then on the construction management side, it definitely is a skill that is, because it's money. You're moving money around, and you're making sure that everything matches up. And I think that is a huge component. And I think the most transferable skill from my architectural background into construction management is my attention to detail. And I think that is the one thing that I'm grateful that was part of my path, that I started in architecture, because you can't develop your skills without an attention to detail. So that is the biggest thing. And so now that I'm not working directly in the design phases of our projects, it's easier for me to hone in on specific things that are oftentimes overlooked. So I would say attention to detail and communicating.
Wonderful. And don't forget to submit your questions as we're going through the session today. We would love to answer those things that are pressing. Laura, could you describe to us your educational background or possible areas of training and certification that would help someone that wanted to pursue a career like yours?
Donald can speak specifically to our industry, and his is a clear path. Mine was not a clear path. Mine was a weird, wavy path. So I graduated with my degree from the University of Nebraska in English and a minor in film. And I went into marketing and minor. It's been fun. So marketing was really good, and I ended up going into public relations because I had a journalism background. So I did a lot of public relations work, and then because of that, ended up starting my own company, which I had for 11 years, and I did public involvement work for a lot of contractors. So I worked on the Bond Bridge project, and that was a great introduction. I worked with Carson Construction on that, and I did public involvement for the contractor and in partnership with MoDOT on that. And then from there, I went over to Kansas and did another project with them. So I had architecture, engineering, and construction clients that I worked with for 11 years. And I had done some writing as well for the Labor Beacon, and between those two things, I got to know a lot of the laborers coming into this, and so they recommended me for this position, which is very unique. I'm the only one doing it in Western Missouri and Kansas for the Construction Laborers Union. So they liked my marketing background, they liked my ability to communicate. I had worked in between marketing. I had done marketing internally for 2 law firms in town, and that's been helpful for some of the contract language and understanding the needs going into that. So mine has been a varied path, but having strong writing skills and strong communication skills and being open to learning new things. Digital marketing has been a new thing that I've had to learn, and it's part of this too, and it's going to continue to grow. So really, once you learn the basic skills really well, you can apply them to almost any industry, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway here.
So it's that ever-growing lifelong learning aspect, maybe picking up things along the way. Do you feel that you've done things more self-taught, or have you sought out little short-term classes or something in that nature of, like you mentioned, digital marketing or some of those other aspects?
I have done both. So when it came to some of the graphic design skills I needed, I am grateful to know a lot of really talented people, and they've helped me along the way, and I've been able to either source out, or they've been kind enough to show me how to do some things. But I did have to take some classes to get a certification in digital marketing, and I did that later on in my career, and that was very helpful. So yeah, I believe lifelong learning is essential, and every career right now is moving at twice the speed that it used to, easily. So you just have to stay up on more stuff. There's a lot more cross-training that's required. I think it's necessary to continue to learn as you go. Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, Donald, so in your career, as well as those that you're mentoring and working with, what types of courses or trainings or certifications are essential in that career path?
But I would definitely say there's a lot of listening skills that come into play, a lot of communication skills, and a lot of lesson planning. So writing, organizational stuff, just knowing how to, I guess it would be a soft skill, pace yourself, to say no, or to say wait. I would think those would probably be the big things that stand out to me that I have went through. So I've done a lot of teaching courses, a lot of curriculum development, stuff like that, that helps us do what we do on a day-to-day. But the listening skills is really, really big, because you can learn everything else, but if you don't know how to discern where people are, then those shifts that come along with learning becomes really one of those deal breakers for people. It really hinges on how they commit.
So can you dive a little bit deeper into what the apprenticeship program looks like, and kind of what that means if someone were to pursue wanting to go that path?
So let me start by saying the best word that I like is free. The training is free. Free always has the longest line. It doesn't cost you anything, and you make money while you learn. And so the apprenticeship that we have is a 3-year program, starts off at 50% of scale, and then they matriculate through the program, getting raises every 3 months. Every 3 months you come and you take a class, and we have on-the-job training as well. And then if your last year, which was year 2, you can go to any MCC college if you're here in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're in Joplin, Springfield, those areas, you can go to Ozark Technical College, and then you can start your program. And as long as you complete our program, you enter to that college somewhere between 30 to 33 credits, which lands you in their construction management program, which is a great path. And then we turn around and we underwrite some of your financial obligations from our organization. So again, that word free is real big. And then we also have myself, and I have a counterpart who works in Belton, who will come along and we will tutor you through that process. So that way you can finish your degree. And then we have contractors that are ready to hire those persons right out of that degree. So you don't have to go nowhere. I mean, literally, you from start to finish, you're right where you need to be: home base, first base, second base, third base. It's right there. So those are some of the assets for our program. And then, of course, if you're a female, we have programs that work along with you to help you matriculate through the program, because we really want to be diverse. And we also appeal to veterans. We partner with the VA programs, helmets or hard hats, and all those other things. So again, I think, just me personally, that it's a great way to start and finish. And we walk you through that process. And did I say it was free?
Oh, yeah.
No student loans.
I do like free, that's for sure. So Jessica, you had mentioned earlier some of your educational background. Do you want to kind of dig any deeper, some advice, any additional courses or trainings or things that you have sought out to help someone be successful?
Yeah, sure. And I got chills listening to Donald speak about just the opportunities, because when I was back in high school, the progress that's happened in this industry, and just tying all of these things together and the exposure. Gosh, it's like, I wish I had that, but I'm glad that these things are growing. I would say, starting in architecture, I think once you get through school, you graduate, it's like, okay, you get this set of drawings and you're like, now what do I do? So I think, kind of tying into what Laura said, it's a lifelong learning. And the way that I learn is hands-on. And so there were just components of my first residential project was really large in scale. And to be a new grad, it was overwhelming at times. But I took advantage of just different things that were just going on in the community. So there was one where our stair install was going on, and I didn't understand the welding aspect of it and why it was taking so long, and there was just layers to it that I didn't understand. So I went and sought out at a local trade school, just finding an instructor that would teach me, what is the technique of welding? Why is it so? What is the key that I need to be looking for? What are the things inspection wise? So, I think a lot of components of what you learn in the trades is something that I've been interested in since I graduated, and I would love to. I would say I love welding. I don't know why I've just sort of honed in on them, but it's just a cool thing to do. but just taking advantage of anything you can get your hands on. And I think on the architectural side, we know a little bit about everything. And so anything that you can find, whether it's someone that's going to help you frame, frame walls or windows, or everything counts. And I think that keeping an open mind to any opportunities that you can learn something about building construction. It isn't just the design aspect. There's so many parts and pieces that go into it. And if you can get someone who will take you under their wing, and that's exactly how I did it on my residential job, as the foreman on that job site. They got in at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., and that was the time. I said, will you explain to me what I'm looking at? And that's where all my resources came regarding how to go get training on different scopes of work. So yeah, take advantage of that, and it all counts.
You never know when you might need it again later in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, and it will come back. I promise you. It may not make sense up on the front end of your studies, but like any, especially if you're going into college and you're looking for different classes to fill your schedule, it all will come back together. I promise.
Thank you. So in thinking about some of those day-to-day challenges in your career, Laura, could you give us some insight? What do you find challenging about your career?
Thinking about what Jessica was saying about enjoying welding, honestly, the benefit that Donald and his team have, where you can come in and you can start a project and there is a finished date for that project, and you get to work and you get to work forward and see your progress as you go, and then you're done, and you can kind of brush your hands off and take a step back and say, I did this, I worked on this. I don't have that privilege in this part of the job. And it's kind of frustrating because it takes a long time to build policy and to make changes at a level where we can see real progress for our contractors, and for changes coming across the board with the energy projects or with pipeline projects. I mean, it can be years down the road before we see real change. So I'm a little bit jealous of Donald and his team, because they get to work on the regular day-to-day projects where you can see all the good work you're doing. But I know that in the long run, as long as I'm thinking long-term about the work that I'm doing, that we're making a difference. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to see our members working. And that's really why I do this every day.
Wonderful. So Donald, what do you find challenging in your career?
I think for me, it's the idea that you got it figured out. I think that's the most challenging thing, because the 1 second that you get comfortable, just within a blink, everything is changed. And so you have to be, I think the magic word is adaptable, in terms of your leadership, in terms of how you put systems in place, in terms of how you expect that end game or what it's going to look like. That's the challenge. And the world is changing. Technology is changing construction. And just a blink of an eye, somebody has figured out how to do something that could change the whole atmosphere and the pulse of how construction works. So that's the best answer I can give you.
That does sound very challenging. Working with humans can be challenging for sure. So Jessica, what do you find challenging?
I think going what Donald said, it's figuring things out. There are so many different complex things that it's Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I think being able to adapt and overcome and things that happen in the field. You have a set of drawings, but it's just not the way that it happened in the field. So I think it leads you to problem solve. I mean, that's just what it is. But I think understanding that everything is part of a process and a bigger picture, being able to take a step back and just unpack it. I think that it's challenging, especially when it's a big problem or it's a costly problem, or it's a time, schedule problem. But I think having or developing the skills to use your resources and to get to the best solution to rectify a problem. That is the most challenging, because the best is, sometimes it's the cheapest. Sometimes it saves your schedule. Sometimes it doesn't meet all three. So I think that that's the most challenging, but that's also the piece of the puzzle that I like. I like problem solving and engaging to find a solution.
Thanks. So kind of flipping to the other side, Laura, what do you feel has been one of your biggest accomplishments?
I have been very grateful that we've been able to introduce a lot of people to careers in construction. The laborers are fun because they have the most variety, I think, of all the skills. There's over 50 different certifications that people can get over their career, and they can keep coming back and they can continue to grow. So I've been grateful to be part of the apprenticeship program and to use my marketing skills to get people into the program in good paying jobs with good benefits. And it's free. Did Donald mention free? Because the training's free. So it's good to be able to do that, and I'm grateful for that part of my job, that we've been able to connect people who want to work with jobs. That's very satisfying, and that's one of the things that keeps me going.
Wonderful. Donna, what would you like to add along with that as one of your greatest accomplishments?
I would say seeing somebody go to work, seeing them come back a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road and say, hey, guess what? This is where I am. Most importantly, seeing them transition from just working every day to being their own business, having their own business, being a business owner. And for me, seeing those things, that's rewarding.
Jessica, what do you feel your greatest accomplishment would be?
I think my greatest, I think on a professional side, it's just seeing a project, I think from design all the way through into completion, to drive past it. It's like the best feeling. You just know everything that it took to get it there. But on a personal level, I think as I'm, continuing in my career, I think having someone that I spoke to when they were in high school say, oh, I'm so glad I met you. And you told, because I'm really transparent. I'll tell you the good, the bad, and everything. And for them to kind of be able to take the good, the bad, and lessons learned and say, all right, well, I was able to move forward and apply some of the things that you told me to navigate around. And now I'm pursuing architecture, and, it makes me happy to feel like, what, it didn't happen for nothing. I'm happy to share my experience, and I'm happy to support in any way that I can, because I do know it can feel like you're kind of on an island and trying to navigate, the educational experience, especially when you get into the field. Yeah, that's like the heartwarming, is just to be able to impart that wisdom. I'm not that old, but I mean, it just still, you go through things and you want it to count for something. Yeah.
So Jessica, just to kind of piggyback on that, what would you like to let our attendees know, some maybe career opportunities within the architecture realm that maybe isn't so common on the front of our own minds, not being in the industry? What are some things that you would like to let them know about?
Sure. So the ironic thing about my pursuit of my architecture degree is that I knew from day one that I was not going to be in architecture. So I knew that architecture was going to be my foundation, and it was going to open doors for me to go wherever. And at that time, I didn't know where I wanted to land within the industry, but I knew that I wanted to be somewhere within it. I think that architects, there's three, I guess I'll say, three legs on a stool for architecture. There's interior architecture, traditional, and then there's landscape architecture. And those will all be most likely part of the School of Architecture wherever you go. But then there's different avenues that you can take on the construction management side, obviously. And I'm trying to think. there are product designers that take their architectural background, and I'm trying to think through some of my friends from school. Some went into fashion, some went into product design, one works for IKEA. And so it's just, I think it's a great foundation for you to get exposure to a lot of different things, but it lays a good foundation for you to kind of circle back to the attention to detail, being able to effectively communicate, and it develops your soft skills to be able to transfer it into something that you may not think it will transfer into.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mhm.
Donald, what could you share on the construction side, some career options that maybe we don't normally think of that are in high need of workers right now?
I think more importantly, one of the things that we need is people that are willing to really stick with a company and learn what that company does. Each company has its own DNA, and with its own DNA, it has its own culture. And so being able to just make that those key pieces come to life, I think are real big. So an example, we need pipe layers, we need form setters, we need asphalt rakers, which is what Laura was speaking to, those different certifications, concrete workers, not just concrete that you see in terms of sidewalks and things like that. We have structural pieces like shotcrete and all that. There's just so many moving pieces, but being able to persevere and really wrap your arms or mind around what's going on. And then I think what's real big is while you're committing, not to lose sight of what's happening and keep your hand on the pulse of how things are articulating through. So those are some things that we need. Again, those skills that I just mentioned, asphalt, pipe, concrete, stuff like that. And then being able to commit is real big. And the reward is awesome.
Thank you. Anything else you would like to add to that, Laura? Some high need areas or something that maybe we aren't aware of in your area?
No, I think Donald hit the nail on the head. I mean, people who are willing to work, people who are willing to get up early and to commit, because it's everything we're talking about. Construction starts early, it runs late, and it's about the project. It's about being part of the team and pulling together and getting the job done. And so people who want to do their own thing, aren't ready to get up at 5 a.m. These are folks who might need to change their mindset if they want a construction career, because construction is fun, and it is very satisfying to look back at projects you've worked on and tell people, hey, I worked on that job, and hey, I did this, and you are part of the infrastructure going forward for years, 20 years, 30 years, and it is satisfying work. So if you want that, you have to be able to get up early and go get it.
And do you want to elaborate a little bit, Laura, on I think you had mentioned earlier about, the benefits and these great paying jobs and what does promotion look like within the industry?
Yeah, and Donald can speak to this too, because our apprenticeship program is tiered, but certainly union jobs compared to non-union jobs in construction pay much better. So we're going to have regular pay increases over the years, and we negotiate for regular pay increases over the years. But our benefits program is outstanding, and our pension program is outstanding. So pensions are a rare breed anymore. It's very difficult to get one. So if you can get a pension plan, and then so we have a 30 and out program as part of this too. So if you start at 19, you can retire at 58 and start your second career at that point. So it's a good setup for life, and I'll let Donald address the actual rates of pay, because it really depends on heavy versus building construction. So heavy construction is a little harder work, and you're out in the elements, so it pays a little better.
Donald, feel free to add on to that.
I think Laura gave you a great snapshot of what it looks like. So just keep in mind, everybody likes numbers. So every 890 hours, you go up $2 an hour. You start off, if you're on building, around $15 and some change. If you're on a heavy highway project, it's $16 and some change. And we start you off at 50%. And every 890 plus class hours, which is 80 hours of class, you go up $2. I mean, a $2 raise twice in a year, that is remarkable. And then you top out at $31 an hour. And then we have a benefit package she talked about. So for every hour that a worker works for the laborers, they get $1.50 if you're on the building. I mean, on the heavy highway, you get $1.30 if you're on building. And we call that a Christmas fund, which they get every year. So if you just work the average 2,080 hours a year times $1.50 or $1.30, that's what he or she walks away with. Not to mention, you get a little over $7 an hour put into a pension fund for the builders, for those that work on the buildings. And it's a little over $7 plus 75 cents per hour if you're on the heavy highway. And the 75 cents goes to what we call a smart fund. So there's a lot of great incentives there for that. And not to mention, we have two medical plans. One is a 80% coverage. The other one is a 90% coverage. So depending on what part of our industry you work in, I mean, there are some great blessings. One of the ones that I like to talk about the most, and I'm trying to be as quick and simple to the point, but detailed, were braces. Each one of my kids had to have braces, and I was out of pocket $1,500 per kid. They paid all of that. My son was in the hospital for 38 days. My hospital bill was only $11,000. So that's the kind of benefits that Laura's talking to. And so since I've had some experience in it, I say I don't think there's anyone out there that compete with us on some of our benefits that we have.
Sounds like it definitely provides that financial security that every parent aspires to have, to keep everyone well and get everything that they need for their family. So that's amazing. Jessica, is there anything you would like to add about promotion opportunities or something in your sector, or just even any parting words that you would like to add for today?
Well, and I think one, I'm just listening to Donald and Laura. So I'm going to just give them some praise because we talk about advocacy and how important that is in regards to promotion, in regards to making sure that things are regulated properly. I think that is amazing. And I've learned so much just by listening to you too. So I think hats off to you because that's amazing. I think that when it comes to promotion, everybody's going to be different, but I think that just committing to your personal development and having goals, I think, we'll have organizational promotion, but then there's also understanding what it is that you're trying to get to and making those moves sometimes yourself to get yourself to where you want to be. So there is organizational promotion and then there's self-promotion. So I think that that's a huge piece of the puzzle and knowing how to balance the two. I think that there's layers to this. Obviously, I'm a woman, and in the world of construction, sometimes you have to make those decisions to keep moving forward and make sure that you're continuously exposed to the things that you're interested in, that you like to do, that are challenging, that are engaging. So I think that imparting is the sentiment that I would like to leave in regards to promotion is that there's organizational and then there's self-promotion and making sure that you're in touch with both of them.
Thank you. Laura, do you have any parting remarks? Anything that maybe we didn't touch on today you would like to add?
No, I mean, I would love to get some questions from the participants that they have, because we've covered a lot of ground here and probably talked some jargon. So it would be good if people knew if they had any questions, we could answer them.
And Donald, do you have any other parting words? Well, maybe they're typing out those questions, hopefully.
What Jessica and Laura said, ditto.
There you go. Love it. Well, we definitely have, go ahead, Brett, sorry.
No, I want to ask a very leading question for all three of you, and not all three of you have to answer, but I have a feeling your answers are going to be the same. Is it possible for a female to be successful in this career field?
Yes.
Donald, do you want to go? Jessica, go ahead.
I think the first part of your question, I think if, in a, you know, I guess, how do we define success? And I think, you know, for me, I think having the ability to pursue your, like I said, your interests and your passions. Yes, I think that the industry is changing. So that's a big piece of it. And I'm grateful to be a part of this industry because it is ever changing and it's evolving. But yes, women, we have a place in this industry. And, you know, what I've learned even in the past year is that there are women who have worked in this industry their entire careers and to do the work to seek them out. So yes, it is possible.
So I'll go for this, but I know Donald's got some good stories because there's some women that he works with in the field that are exceptional. So I've been in various careers that have been considered to be male dominated, legal career, and then having my own company was complicated and fraught with interest there. But for the most part, I think people are willing to work with people they can work with. And as long as you are a person that they can work with, you're willing to listen and ask questions and get involved. It takes a certain kind of personality, I think, sometimes in construction. You have to be clear and succinct and not be afraid to stand your ground on occasion. But beyond that, I don't think that this career is limited for anyone.
Donald, do you have anything you'd like to add? I think your mute is still on. Sorry about that.
I think the fact that Laura's there and Jessica's there, that's proof. I wanted you guys to see our instructors. This is Bill.
Hello.
He's the one that makes sure that things work from day to day. This is Harry.
How you doing?
They make sure, and they mentor women and men. So there it is.
Better believe it.
Thank you. Thank you, Brett, for the final. Oh, did we have one that came in?
We have one more question, okay? Internships were mentioned. How do people apply for the internships that you guys mentioned earlier?
They come to our program Mondays in Belton from 2 to 4, 21201 South Mullen Road, Belton, Missouri. Bring your high school diploma or GED. If you're in the military, your discharge papers, birth certificate, social security card. And then from there, we start walking through the process. If you're in Kansas City, the city or the surrounding areas, you can come to 8944 Call Drive, Kansas City, Kansas. Same documents, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 to 10, and we'll do the same thing.
And Donald, before you mute yourself, can you tell us again, just for the people listening, can you repeat the name of your organization so they can go find you on the internet?
So you would go to Greater Kansas City Laborers Training Center or Construction Industry Laborers Training Center. Both training centers are under one umbrella program, which is called Western Missouri and Kansas Laborers Apprenticeship Program. And so they can go to either site. Just Google, I think it's gkcltc.org or ciltf.org. Look those up and just follow the prompts.
Wonderful. Jessica, do you have any guidance on where to go for internships in your sector? So
are we talking high school students, or are we talking college students, or all of the above?
Either or. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so typically we do internships for college students, and they're like in that second year of college, and there's summer internships typically. But you know, I think always just reach out. I say that the key is LinkedIn. You can find a recruiter. They love LinkedIn. So you find individual that is whatever company that you're interested in, start early. That's a key too. So the one thing that I didn't know when I was in school is that the internship cycle for the summer starts like in March. So they get on like early as you can, because they start that process earlier than you would think. I ran into that one year and I was like, what do you mean? It's May. It's but they start a couple months early. So LinkedIn was my primary tool whenever I was looking for an internship. And then also a little tip is that I found someone who worked there and then connected with them and then reached out to them, and they were oftentimes willing to give the email or a phone number of a person that they can kind of bridge that gap. So start early, and whatever organization you're looking for, you know, just LinkedIn, and then be persistent. You know, they get a lot of messages and things like that, but be persistent and try to find someone else who already works in the organization that you're willing to be at, like reach out to, and don't be afraid. I think I was always so shy to reach out to someone that I didn't know, but those are the tools and the resources that you have available. Use them, and I'm always happy to help, and you know, just don't be afraid. Just go for it.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today that served on our panel and for taking the time to share their passion and insights with us. We hope that the audience enjoyed hearing about one of the thousands of amazing career opportunities located right here in Kansas City. Please take another minute or two to complete our survey that'll pop up on your screen after the session ends. This will help us to bring you more helpful and relevant content in the future. For more information on educational programs, career opportunities related to this industry that we discussed today, please be sure to visit www.nebaworkskc.org. Be sure to register for our future Career Speaker Series events on our website, and a recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel. We hope everybody has a great rest of your day.